What's up? Morning. Happy 4th of July weekend. Just want to do a little update video, show you some of the stuff that we got going on at the yard here, and give you a little update on my plans and why I haven't had videos blasting out. Milling. I did just get done with a milling project. I'll get into that in a minute, but something I want to talk about. So I joined the Norwood group on Facebook. I talked about this a little bit in my review of the HD36v2, and something I have to bring up is the incessant Norwood bashing on the site. I think I know where it comes from. I've been open about this in the past, and I think that there's a sort of brand espionage going on where they have people join the things that run other brands, and whether they're paid or not, I don't know. I would imagine that they probably are, based on the veracity of what they say. I shouldn't say veracity, it's the wrong word. How vicious they are in their attacks on their brand attacks. There's no way that somebody can just openly be that angry without either a legitimate concern and to prove the veracity of their problem, to use the term correctly, or that they're from another brand and they're just doing it as a form of sabotage against the brand. But I just want to give you my experience with Norwood. My experience with Norwood has been this. When we decided to order this mill, I ordered it in November. They were running at the time, they were running a sale. I had said to my wife, we got to spend some money before the end of the year, or we're going to get hammered in taxes, which didn't matter, we got hammered in taxes anyway. But I wanted to bring in a sawmill, bandsaw mill, to kind of expand our capabilities, and I wanted to do it during the sale because it was pretty significant savings. Probably not as much as I thought it was going to end up being. I talked about that in the other video also. If you think when you look at the ad you're going to get it for $9,800 like it shows in the ad, it's just not true. It's going to be more than that. So, mine, this one was around $15,000 with the extras that I ordered. Manual mill, but we wanted the ability to go hydraulic, so this was the only mill that runs that option, and size, commercial grade mill, ability to go hydraulic. This is what we had to get. So I couldn't justify spending the money. I could have spent the money, but it would have been tight to go up to an LT35 to get basically the same mill with hydraulics. I could have probably got that for about $25,000. The wait time was long. The wait time for this was not. I had the mill by before the middle of December, so the beginning of December. I got it in about 2 weeks. They quoted me 2 weeks. Maybe it was 4 or 5 days longer than that before it showed up. So that was the lead time. All right, so we're going to get away from. What I'm going to do is I want to dispel some myths that I see constantly on Facebook. So that's the first one. First one is the lead time. I got my mill in less than 3 weeks. Now, if you love Wood-Mizer, you have every reason to. Wood-Mizer's a great mill. There's been hundreds of thousands of miles of board foot milled on Wood-Mizer mills around the world, but their lead time is what it is. It took me probably 2 years to order a mill because lead times were so long, and we're talking they weren't 6 months, they weren't 3 months, they were 2 years, they were 36 months, they were 28 months. And some of the wood miser mills are still that way now. I, like a lot of you, watch everything, and I'm constantly watching. Someday when we kick this up a notch and ramp up, will I end up with another mill? Maybe. Um, so I'm constantly watching what's happening with the other mills. And I think a lot like a lot of you, I kind of learn things here and there, through YouTube, through watching, and through the sites and so on and so forth. Sometimes I'll just see something and say, oh my God, I never thought of that. So I'm constantly learning. But the thing that sparked this video, aside from, I don't even want to comment on Norwood's site half the time, just because the stuff that I see just isn't true. It's not true to my experience with the mill. When I see somebody badmouthing a certain aspect of the mill, I say that's not my experience. And sometimes maybe it is. Sometimes there are things that go wrong. I'm going to post this on that Norwood Facebook site, so some of you that are on this site and don't follow me on YouTube are going to see it. You're going to, maybe you'll watch it. Hopefully you watch it. And some of you are going to disagree with some of the things that I say, and that's fine. I'll be able to see the disagreements and be able to make up my own mind whether you're telling the truth or whether you're one of these paid shills or just shills for another mill that want to, badmouth it just to badmouth it. And I see it across all lines. My Bobcat T650 that's sitting behind you see it on skid steer forums. One guy saying this one's great, one guy saying that one's great. You want to watch a good review? Look at Stanley Dirt Monkey just put one out on skid steers. So if you're really brand loyal, he's owned everything, and he did a review of my 3 worst skid steer purchases. It just came out. I just watched it this morning. Watch that. It's good on skid steers. But the reason that I did this is that I have right here in my hem a couple of packages I just ordered from Norwood. I'll open them so that you can see I'm not lying to you. But one of them was I pulled out a couple of the bushings and the linear bearings on my adjustable blade guide. And while I was on the phone with them, I ordered the the basic service pack that comes with a wheel tire, the main drive belt, and ceramics. And if you're watching from the Norwood Facebook site, hopefully you saw my post when I yanked these out while I was doing this job, the guide bushings in the adjustable blade guide. So you know the time frame. So I called up Norwood the other day. I had kind of waited for a few days to see if, like Kelly on the Facebook site would contact me and say, hey, yeah, we're sending those out to you. And she didn't. She liked my post, but she didn't reply to me. And I had no way to tag her. It doesn't tag her, and I don't blame her because she'd be constantly getting tagged. But when I called up a week ago and ordered these, gentleman I got on the phone answered the phone, was completely helpful. This service pack was in stock in the U.S. I'll get it right out to you. The bushings they didn't have in stock in the U.S., but they had them in stock in Canada. We'll get those right out to you, and they warranted these 100%. Now, he did tell me those are wear items, so this time we'll warranty them, but your mill is so new, basically, they should not have failed by now, which I agreed with him. And he asked me if I had the ability just to replace the bushings, which I do. I got to take some stuff apart to do it, but I do. So he sent me out 4 of them. I only needed 2, but I'll have 2 extras. And I will make it so that can't happen again. Without going into that, I don't want to make this part of that, but you can, when you adjust the adjustable guide arm, you have to pick it up out of a notch and move it, and then it settles back down into a notch. Well, there's a stop. Unfortunately, that stop comes down out of the guide arm on the top, and you can pick it up over the stop and push it too far. And when you push it too far, your linear rails go through the linear bearings and come out the other side, and then the clearances are so tight you can't pull it back in. It's happened to us twice. The second time I basically destroyed the bushings trying to get it back in. It was hot out. I was trying to finish up this customer order, and I was pissed, and I ended up yanking the bushings out through the thing, and they got destroyed, and you know, it is what it is. But I ordered these. This one showed up in 2 days. Got an email instantly on both. This one got the email that it had shipped. It might even have showed up the next day. It was close. It was either the next day that I got this or the day after I got the confirmation. So let's just say it was 2 days, just so I'm not, you know, making this sound too rosy and, you know, roses and unicorns and rainbows. This one I got the next day, 3 days. So just to prove to you what they are, let's go over to the bench here. Yeah, we'll do it on the monster sawhorses. Let me set you up so you can see the monster sawhorses. Let's open them right here. I'm in shorts and stuff, so please don't anybody say I don't have protective clothing on or I'm going to shit myself. Not milling today. It's going to rain. Happy 4th of July weekend, by the way. Don't need a knife for this one. So here are the bushings that go inside the linear bearings. There's 4 of them in there. And what happens on these, hopefully you can see this, I'll try to get it in close. What happens on these is that there's a raised area on this bushing that snaps inside a groove inside the bearing. So if you push the rail out through it, if this comes out, you have to put this back in while it's out, because it needs to be squeezed down. I don't know if you can see, there's a gap in the side of them. It has to be compressed to fit back in, and then these little raised spots snap into the recess inside, and then it has to go back on. Well, you can't do it on the mill. So the edges of these are pretty sharp. They probably should be chamfered, and then maybe you could do it on the mill, but mine were new, so they get these out to me, and then let's take a look at what's inside the service pack here. Of course that's going to be, nope, good. Glued together. Now I realize that I could have gone down and probably sized these, separate it, Napa or something like that, and just bought them. But you know, I just wanted the service pack. It comes with ceramics for the guides. It doesn't come with a lot of ceramics, I'll tell you that. That's kind of weird. It's not a full replacement. It's one square block, and it looks like an end block and a top block. So let me think about this. I think the square block is the end block, and these are the squeeze blocks up and down. So it comes with basically one set. This is a couple $100, just to let you know, for the HD36, but I have them in case anything fails. And I'm in the middle of a job again, and I bust a belt, and so I got them lying around. I'll keep them in with my Norwood junk, which eventually will be a nice shed out here that I'm going to build right over, movable on skids, so I can move it around the yard with skid steer. But so when this mill ends up in its final location, I'll be able to move it over there near the saw head somewhere. It'll have all my tools in it, and my PVs and levels and crap like that that I want to have out by the mill, fuel and so on and so forth. But so that's what I got in 2 days for one package and 3 days for the other. So all these posts that I see about, you know, let me, sorry, get back up here. Let's put my hand up here so I can see how high I can see. Yeah, I think I can still see my face. Hopefully I don't cut half my head off like I always do. So all these posts that I see about, you know, oh, this field, I can't get parts, you can't get parts, you can't get parts, you can't get parts. I mean, they just continue to say it over and over and over again. That hasn't been my experience. When they shipped me the mill, I was missing a couple of parts. The rails that the sawhead rides on, I was missing 2 4-footers and 2 2-footers. And I think that was because I ordered an extension. And it just so happened that they were doing inventory the end of December when I went and put it together, and they closed for a week for inventory. But I got them right afterwards. As soon as they opened up, they sent them out to me, and we put them in, and that was it. But they've, you know, I see the other one is, oh, I can't get them on the phone. They answer the phone every time I call. I don't know where you are in the world. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're in New Zealand and you're calling in the middle of the night, or I don't know. But when I call during business hours, which are clearly posted on their sites, they answer the phone every single time. I mean, I don't get 10, 15, 20, 30-minute wait times like you get with Comcast. No hour like you get with your health insurance. They pick up the phone. I talk to them, they solve my problem, I pay with my debit card, and Bob's your uncle, stuff's on the way. It's never been any different. I've never had a bad experience with them. So I don't understand, well, I think I understand, but I don't agree with the comments that I see that are to the contrary of what I'm saying. You know, the comments about, oh, they're gonna, you know, oh my God, it's gonna rust apart and it's gonna fall apart and all this and it's all that. I mean, this mill it's been sitting out here since December. You know, I do cover the sawhead. I just got some redneck tarp up there because I have a DRO on it, and there's, you know, some wires I don't want getting wet. That's the only reason I cover it. But I mean, you know, I've milled quite a bit on this, and you know, if you want to watch my full, that big long hour plus long review on it, you can watch that if you want to get, you know, in depth on this. But you know, this mill looks like the day it came out of the box. Because, you know, I'm loading this with the Bobcat. I do have tongs, which are great. I don't see this one's all grown in over here. The other one's sitting in the grass over there, all grown in. I don't use them that much anymore. That's the best way to load them. But what I end up having to do is, if I'm working by myself, I have to take door off so I can get in and out while the Bobcat arms are raised up. So I keep pulling the door off, and what I've found is it's just easier for me by myself when I am working by myself to load it with the forks. So I mean, I'm bumping these rails. You probably can see, I don't know if you can see or not. There's not really any damage, but I'm constantly in here with the forks and loading big logs and so on and so forth. But I mean, you know, there's certainly no rust. There's no anything. It looks like the day that, you know, like I said, the day I put it together. But the biggest complaint I see is that I can't get parts. I can't get parts. I can't get parts. Just don't think that's true. I just don't think it's a true statement. I haven't had a problem getting a single part. So I wanted to do this to kind of defend Norwood a little bit, and just to finish this video up and wish you a happy 4th of July. Hope everybody's 4th of July goes great. You know, I'll show you around a little bit, let you know what's going on. So I just got done with a big cedar order. That's what I have left over to kind of edge through for flitch cuts and jacket cuts and stuff that I needed to get to dimension. I've got, you can kind of see what's left of my cedar logs lying around. I try to cut them down and keep what I could so I can still use them. I want to put an outdoor shower up there on the back of the house. If you can see where my finger is, I've got it plumbed up there, and I want to put an outdoor shower, and she wants built out of cedar. So I'm going to try to build it out of what's left here and what I have in logs left over there. And I do have some cedar in this stack here that would, some nicer pieces, so I'll try to build it out of that. But we're trying to get set up to go production milling and put in our saw shop, which is going to be out here, kind of sitting right in here. The last thing that I have to do is get through my firewood pile here and flatten this area of dirt out that way to open up this space. Take you around that way so you can see better. It's kind of the last step here in the process to get the mill yard ready to go. See all my construction debris left over from projects the last couple of years, but this is kind of like what's left of stuff that I have to split and a few things I have to buck up. And I'll take that pile out, clean this out, and make this all flat here. There'll end up being a shed over here. So I have to sift through that. That's kind of got to get done before I decide to go full on. I can mill, you know, for custom orders right now, and you know, when I am milling a custom order, I just stick my stock for the order up on top of the monster sawhorses. But if I want to do anything production wise and have stock out here, I need bigger areas, so that's got to be done first. This area gets small pretty quick when you're starting to sticker and stack lumber. I have a customer order to mill, some of it's here. It's 15 logs of straight pine. Some of it's over here, some of it's in my pile out back. I'll show you those piles. I got to mill through this, although the log truck just came in and dumped some new ones on top. I was kind of thinning this down. Now I got to go through those too. Some good pitch pine and white pines in there. A piece of locust standing up. I got some cherry in there and some walnut. And I got to mill through this pile so that I can flatten this area out. This is basically a firewood pile. It's all chunks of hardwood that are, some of which are what I consider not really good enough to mill this pile over here. So that's probably all going to get bucked into firewood. I might try to mill some of it. There's kind of that old white oak down the bottom right there, and that old white oak up top right there, that I might mill some of that out. There's a white oak sticking out up there that might have a millable section in it and one underneath it. Most of this is just going to get bucked into firewood. Some real curvy Norway maples and stuff like that in there. This I just took out of a job. It's red oak. That butt log, there's going to be some good lumber in. There's another red oak butt log next to it they got a little bit of damage in them, but I don't think it's anything extensive. This is my drop-off pile out front where they're just dropping me lumber all the time. Right now this pile's all white oak and black oak. There's my firewood stands, pumping firewood out for camp wood for people for 4th of July. Just pumping money to me. These black oaks are huge. Some of them I might have to break down on the chainsaw mill before they go on the regular mill, but this is all black and white oak. Some of it's kind of curvy. You can see some saw cuts in there that aren't millable that I'll buck into firewood. Take that apart, but they just showed up, so I don't really I'm not in any hurry to start breaking them down. Some red oaks right here that I kind of kept from an old job that I might mill into some small stuff. It more likely will become firewood. Now I've got a pile here where I just moved some of my big white and pitch pines out here, and then there's the rest of the customer order in there that I'm gonna have to pull that apart to get at. And then I got a black locust pile out here too, which is in the back there. Kind of hard to see, but black locust pile there. So that's what we got going on. I'm trying to finish up really my last big project. Hopefully this summer. It's a big deck project that I'm working on, and trying to finish that up so I can kick over into sawmill mode. I'm getting down to the end of it. Only got 11 boards left to put on the top, and then I got to do some railing work, but that can stretch out. And I got to put in a handicap ramp, and I'll probably do that right after I finish the 11 boards on the top. I'll do those Monday. 4th of July is on Tuesday. I'll do those Monday to finish the topping on it. I still have to put fascia on it, but that's going to be reliant on the posts a little bit. I made custom Doug fir posts, and then she doesn't want them. She wants something smaller, so we're actually sourcing metal posts with the cable system, which I hate, but that's what she wants, she thinks. So we ordered a section of that. When we get it in, we're going to mock it up so she can look and see if she gives us the okay to go ahead with that. But yeah, so that's where we are. The mill yard's kind of a mess here. I got stuff that needs to be stacked. I've got stuff that needs to be edged. I've got stuff that needs to be resawn. And like I said, I got to get to splitting on that pile. The splitter's sitting over there because I've been splitting up all my slab cuts and splitting them down into small wood, which you see a pile next to the shed, and putting them in the firewood, the camp wood thing out front. So it's kind of where we are. Norwood, I want to say thank you to how you've treated me going, in this process. I have no complaints about anything that, I have a few complaints. I mean, if you watch my hour-plus long video, and I'm not monetized, so I don't get anything out of it. If you watch that video, you'll see I have a couple of complaints with the mill. Most of them, if you get into this, probably important to say, let me put you back down here a sec. If you get into this and you're not mechanically inclined and don't have a lot of tools, and you're out in the middle of the woods somewhere, or you're a mom and pop and you haven't done a lot of repairs in your life, this mill probably is not for you. If you get it on a trailer package, it'll make it doable. But if you don't get it on a trailer package and you want to have it a fixed mill, and you're out in the woods somewhere without a stable base and this, that, and the other thing, and the ability to move stuff around, I can come in with a bobcat and pick this whole mill up and move it if I want to. I can pick it up right in the middle. These don't even sag. I'm constantly, see if you can see this, in my temporary setup right here. So I'll let you look down. Sometimes when I'm pushing a log on, or I'll move this, it will slide over. I'm constantly coming in here with the forks, picking this end up and moving it back over as a single unit. So I can stick the forks under right here, pick this whole end of the mill up and slide it back over, put it back down. The rigidity on this frame is awesome. You have to be, like I say in the my review video, you have to be very careful about how you lock this mill together when you build it, because when you tighten down these end brackets and stuff, you tighten these down with this mill twisted, it's going to stay twisted. So you have to be careful about that. You got to get this mill trued, coplanar, and level before you tighten these sides down, because of their nature and the way they're made with the corrugated snap together pattern. If you tighten it down, well, with a huge sag in the rail, it's going to stay like that. You can't adjust that out with the feet. If you tighten this down with a big twist in the mill, it's going to stay like that. So it's important to get the thing straight, square, and flat before you tighten down the sides and everything when you're building this one. But if you're out in the middle of the woods somewhere without a good base to put this thing together, this is not the mill for you. You're going to need it on a trailer package. That's additional expense. But I think that's the case in any mill. But if you're not mechanically inclined, I mean, it's possible maybe just, sawmilling isn't for you. I want people milling lumber. I think it's great. The sustainability side, all this wood that you see that I have here is all coming for free. This gets dropped off here every day for nothing. These tree companies, they don't want to buck this stuff into logs and have to throw it out in the landfill. It's extra expense for them. When I could tell them leave it in 16 footers and drop it to house, they're in heaven. They're dumping all this wood here for nothing. So I'm keeping it out of the landfill and I can make money with it. The last order I did was basically a $1,000 order. 800 that I did in a couple afternoons. You know, so, you know, I want more people sawmilling. I want that. I want more people sawmilling. We're seeing that. That's why the lead times are so long with all these manufacturers, because more people are buying sawmills because lumber prices have gone up, inflation's gone up, COVID kicked everybody into their homes, and hey, maybe you don't want to go near a city ever again. I can't say I freaking blame you. I don't want to go near one ever again either. So stay in our little corner of the world and make a living without going out and having to deal with customers and stuff like that. That's kind of the plan. You know, they want to come over and pick something up, great, but you have to keep in mind, if you're not mechanically inclined, then don't bitch about something you got to fix. I mean, you're either capable or you're not. I can make any part on this mill. You know, I can turn any screw or any bushing on my metal lathe. I can cut apart metal and weld, and I could make anything that I want for this mill. So that's not a problem for me. Now, if it is a problem for you, I mean, that's no fault on you. You know, I'm not going to say everybody has to, you know, be experienced to get into this, and I'm not experienced from a sawmilling standpoint. I am very experienced in milling lumber, but I've never worked at a lumber yard. So my weakness is I'm turned, you know, one of these logs into a big cant. You know, let's just say like those cants over there. And somebody who's been milling lumber for a long time, you know, when they're doing an order, you know, they can visualize better how to break it down. I'm a little slow at that. I got one comment on one of my last videos where somebody just said, "You're slow." Well, yeah, I kind of am, because I had to maximize what I was going to get out of those logs, and I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it or what, because there was so many different components that I had to kind of maximize what I was taking out. So, you know, if I needed 1x8s, I needed 2x6s, I needed 2x4s, and I needed 4x4s. So I had to maximize what I had in a cant to how I was going to cut it, so that I would end up with enough wood. I didn't think I was going to end up with enough wood for the order. I know I did, but that's because I maximized everything I cut. So I am slow at that. You know, I'll admit that 150%. Some of you have never worked with machines before and things like that. And if you never worked with machines, I'm not going to fault you for not being handy. But at the same time, then you can't complain when you are not handy. These mills are not service free. They don't level themselves. They don't load themselves. They don't fix themselves. It's not like having a brand new Bobcat or a brand new Caterpillar where you call the service tech out and he fixes it for you when you blow a hydraulic line. You know, for me, when I snap off, I'm gonna get upside down here, but when I snapped off this fitting, because I had a log drop down here and I snapped this fitting off, I'm able to take the cylinder out, take it apart, weld the nipple back on, and go back to work. Well, this is no different. You know, if you own a Bobcat, and that happens to you, and you call up and that cylinder's not in stock, and it puts you down basically, and it's just a Bobcat cylinder. So, you know, if mine are cut off, but if you had the handles on here, they're cut off for speed so they don't get in the way. But if you had the handles on here, you could do it manually. You could take that cylinder out and manually lock everything on. But if you can't do that, and you're waiting for Bobcat, and you know, you're going to be complaining, well, my machine's down, you know, I can't run it because they don't have the cylinder in stock. Well, the mill's kind of no different. All I can tell you is that I have not had any problem getting parts out of Norwood. I haven't waited for really anything. I've had no problems in getting response from Norwood. I've had no problems to keep my mill running. So that's kind of the crux of this video. You can make up your own minds why the negative comments are there. I kind of already made up my mind, and I'm not going to change that. Now, if you're one of the people that are complaining and you're going to comment on this on Facebook, I'm going to tell you now, that I expect Kelly to check your comment. If I find out your comment's wrong, I'm going to run you up the flagpole. So if she checks and tells me that you don't have an order in, you never ordered that part that you're saying you've been waiting 6 months for, I'm going to run you up the flagpole for it. I'm not going to delete your comment, but I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to comment on it and I'm going to call you a liar. Now, if it turns out that it's true and Kelly tells me why it's true, I'm also going to highlight that too, because if there are parts that you can't get, there are none that I know of, and I've gotten a pretty decent variety. We'll see if we can solve that for you. Maybe Kelly will see it and she'll get it out to you. Maybe she'll expedite that process. Maybe it will help you. My experience has not been that, and I am going to call out the people that aren't telling the truth. And if we can help the people that are telling the truth, then we're going to do that too. I'm not doing this for malicious purposes at all. I'm just telling you my experience. My experience is I call up, they answer the phone, they get out what I ask for. And that's it. They got this mill out in 2 weeks. They got these parts out in 2 days. One came from Canada, one came from the US. They're at my doorstep within 3 days of me calling. That's my experience. I'm sticking to it. If you've got an experience that is not that, then leave it in there and hopefully we can solve the problem for you. Now, if you've got a 20-year-old mill that you bought secondhand from somebody that was off in a cow pasture all grown in and destroyed and rusted and wrecked and not running, and now you're having trouble getting it running, it's a different story. Just be careful of what you say, because if you can't get a part for an outdated mill, then I'd suggest you hire somebody like me to make it for you. If those parts are obsolete and aren't in stock, that's a different story. Norwood never has promised anybody that if you bought a mill 30 years ago, that a part on that mill 30 years ago is still going to be available today. That's just not reality. So, but I do want to find out what's true and what isn't. So that's my Sunday morning 4th of July 2 cents. I hope you guys have a great 4th of July. And if you're not in the United States and you're not celebrating 4th of July, hopefully you have a great work Monday and Tuesday. So you guys take care. Thanks for the watch. If you want to share this video or hit like and subscribe, then that's great. Like I said, it's not monetized. It doesn't really mean anything to me. Maybe someday it will be, but right now it isn't. So enjoy your weekend. Be safe, and I hope everything's great. Thanks for the watch.